All right, let's talk about knives. I'm really not a knife nerd. I'm not into it. But the thing about knives is they are an emergency rescue tool. You must have a cutting tool on your body at all times, at least when you're outside of the home, if you want to be prepared for this world. When I was 12 years old, I got stuck in a seatbelt in a car. Nobody in the vehicle had a cutting tool to cut me out. My brother actually ran to a convenience store and borrowed a box cutter to come back to the vehicle and cut me out. So if that vehicle was flipped over in the water or on fire, I would not be sitting here talking to you today, obviously. So emergency cutting tool is a must. It is a pillar of preparedness. You have to carry one. Doesn't have to be a knife. It could be a multi-tool with a cutting edge. In fact, when I go into like restricted environments where I can't carry a legit knife, I'll carry a tiny keychain multi-tool, with pliers and all that stuff on it, with a tiny little blade on it. That suffices as that emergency cutting tool. Okay, so it's a must-have. So with that said, really the biggest factor for determining what kind of knife or tool to carry is, does it factor into your defensive plan or not? If it does, I'm really solid on the belief that small fixed blade defensive knives carried midline on your body so that they're accessible to either hand are really hard to beat. So for many years I carried a K-Bar TDI, not this exact one, but I have several of these. So it was, the same knife design. Okay, small fixed blade, I like the curved design for, what its intended use is. So something like that, or any of the Shivwork design knives, those kind of knives centerline on the body so that they're accessible in front of your hips, accessible to either your hands. That's really hard to beat. The other reason for these dedicated defensive knives is they have inert trainers available. You must have that. If the knife is part of your self-defense plan, you've got to be able to practice with it. So the inert training knife. Okay, this version mimics the K-Bar TDI, as you can see. So I carried one of those for years. To be honest, the last few years, I don't carry a fixed blade fighting knife on my body anymore. I would rather impart impact to the head defensively with an impact tool than cut somebody up if I don't have a firearm. So that's just me. Okay, there's a lot of downsides to knives. However, again, small fixed blade knives carried centerline. There are certain niche scenarios in self-defense where it can be a complete game changer. So if you're into that, those are the kind of tools I would look at. So if you don't carry the knife specifically as part of your defensive plan, still have to carry a knife, or it could be a multi-tool with a cutting edge. If you carry a folder, here's just some ideas what I prefer in a folder. I want a folding knife that I can deploy single-handed, like this one. This is my favorite carry folder, actually. It's an Ontario Rat 1 model. At least years ago, you could buy these for like $30. I have several of them. This exact one I've had for many years, and I have done all kinds of stuff with it. I have cut, wood, made feather sticks with it. I've dressed a number of deer out with it. It's been used and abused, and absolutely they do not die. They're very rugged. You can resharpen them easily, and see how easily you can deploy them single-hand. You have to practice how to do that, but once you do, this is not assisted opening. There's no springs in there. I don't like assisted opening knives. I just want a regular knife with the right kind of bearings that opens easily with a single hand. Very solid lockup once it's opened. Okay, so that is absolutely my favorite carry folder. It's pretty big. It's 3.5 inches, the blade length, but it's thin, as you can see. So it makes it very easy to carry, and the clip is excellent, okay? Another thing I look for in a carry folder is this. Notice when I close it one-handed, as the blade comes down, if I have a proper grip on the knife with my finger right there in the choil, okay, the cutting edge is not on my flesh. I like a folding knife that has standoff in the cutting edge between the actual point at which the knife folds so that you can more safely close it one-handed. See, blade edge is not near my thumb when I close it like that. Or if, God forbid, you extended it and it comes back on you because you didn't have it fully locked, you've got a safety net there. It may hurt you, but it's probably not going to guillotine your fingers right off the way that some knife designs where the edge comes all the way down to the base of the steel can take your fingers right off. I don't want that. So I prefer a design like this over a design that has cutting edge all the way down to the base. All right. My other folding knife that I really like is this. It's a Cold Steel Code 4 knife. This is a pretty high-end steel, holds an edge for a long time, but you can still resharpen it. It's not one of those super steels that's so hard that you can't resharpen. This one's harder to open one-handed. You can still do it. You can kick out the stud and give it a flick and it will open, but this has a back liner mechanism. These are exceedingly powerful locking mechanism. It is the closest thing to an actual fixed blade there is, this kind of mechanism. However, the downside is it's harder to open to defeat that mechanism, and also to close it realistically, you have to close it with one hand. So this is a great folder if you want something really rugged and strong. Again, maybe you're spending time in the woods and you're only carrying a folder instead of a fixed blade. This is a great solution for that. For everyday carry though, I really prefer a knife like this that can so easily be opened with one hand and can safely be closed with one hand. So that's what I would suggest looking for in a folder. Finally, everybody should have at least a couple specimens of solidly built fixed blade knives. I always opt for smaller knives. So even this one can really do anything you would need to do, but it's only a 3.5 inch blade length. This is a Schrade knife. I've had it for years. It's very rugged. I don't know what the exact model is, but again, what we're going here for is we want something really strong for in the woods. If we got to, create feather sticks, dress game, etc. I prefer a fixed blade for all of that kind of use. I don't carry a fixed blade on my person. Even when I'm in the field, I'll have a folder on my person, but I probably have the fixed blade in a pack with me because that's the strong, powerful tool that I want to use to do the actual work. So good size fixed blade knives between 3 and 4 inches as a field knife. You really can't beat that. So that's my thoughts on knives. I'm not a knife guy. I'm definitely not into the whole knife fighting thing, but you have to have an emergency cutting tool on your person.